Hi everybody, it's Christina from Card Making Magic. Do you have the weaving dies in your collection? Well, if you do, normally you would weave the two together, but for this card I'm going to show you a different way to use these dies. So with the two sets of dies, one is called stripped and that will give you the thin strips in your card. And the other one is the classic, and that will give you the thicker strips that are in your card. Now, to make sure that you know which is which, what I've done is I've marked the back of them. So that is the thick one, and that is the thin one. Now, from the thinner strips, I've made this card, and from the thicker strips, I've made this card, and this is the one I'm going to show you how to make. So from the thick stripped die, I have cut my die from a piece of card that's just slightly bigger than the die. Don't worry about it being neat because it's going to be trimmed down once you've finished. You also need a piece of black card and you're just going to leave that piece solid. Now then, with this die, you're going to remove some of those strips. So we can take the top part off. That takes that away. We can do the same at the bottom, and that takes that piece away. And then what we're going to do is remove every other one from this card. So that's all you're going to do, is just take those away. And you're going to work down the card until you've got all those pieces, every other piece, removed. Now the stamps that I'm using are from Alt New and I'm using the Hello collection. If you look at this smaller one, I've used the smaller Hello from the set, but for the purposes of this video I'm going to use the bigger one. So what I want to do is take my stamp off my sheet and I'm going to put Birthday Girl. So I'm taking Birthday Girl off the sheet. Now if I put Birthday Girl down on one of these strips, that's where I want it to sit on the card. And then around that I'm going to place Hello. And then with my stamp block I can just pick up the two stamps and they are now in position ready for me to stamp with. So for the first part of this, I'm going to just pop it on some copier paper and I'm going to use some VersaFine in black and some clear embossing powder. And I'm just going to stamp up this, ink up this stamp. So make sure we've got plenty on. And we'll just clean off the edge. And now I'm going to stamp it down so that my Birthday Girl is on this bar and the rest of the stamp is going up the page. So I'll make sure it's all pressed down and we'll take it off. Now I'm going to cover it very quickly with some embossing powder, and you can see where it's missed on the card. That's what I want it to do. So I'm going to heat emboss this now. Once you've got that embossed, you can pop that to one side because the next thing you're going to do is work on the black card. Okay, so you need to clean off your stamp. And I'm just going to dry it with some kitchen roll, because what I want to do now is Versamark it, and then I'm going to emboss it in white powder. So again, we'll just ink up the stamp, get plenty on, And the words are in exactly the same position as they were to do this part. So now I'm going to pop this down into the middle of the card. And now I'm going to put some white embossing powder on it. And I'm going to go away now and heat emboss this. So once you've got this embossed, and this is not a mistake, this is in the stamp, it's actually faded out at the top. But you can now bring in your other piece, and what you're going to do is marry those up so that you've now got white, black, and your stamp on there. So you need to put glue on the back of all these pieces. And I'll just pop some glue on. And then you're going to marry it up very carefully. And make sure it's stuck down. So once you've got these two stuck together, you're going to trim this down now to the size that you want it. So I'm going to take off those side pieces. I'm going to take it off the other side. And I'm going to trim the black pieces off the top so that we're level with the white. So now that's trimmed, if your card is buckled, if you run it through your die cutting machine, it will just help to flatten it a little bit, just on the embossing sandwich. It's just to flatten the card. Now I'm just adding in some, this is Cosmic Shimmer Dries Clear glue. You must make sure it says dries clear, otherwise it will show on your card, because the white one is very similar. So I'm now just going to pop that on there and make sure it's all stuck in place. Okay, so once this is stuck down, I'm just going to trim it down and leave just a small border around the edge. Now all I've got here is a piece of A4 card, and I've just folded it in half, and I know now that my panel will fit on that, and then I can trim this down to fit that panel. So once I've got this all stuck down, I'm just going to have a dry run with some flowers. So I think we'll put some along there, and these flowers are all from Wild Orchid Crafts. And we'll have a little selection along there with some leaves. So you're just going to mix and match in different colours and different styles and see what you like most. And then once I've done that, I'm going to finish that card off with some little stick-on flat back dots that will match the card. So this is still a dry run, I haven't glued anything in place yet. But I think that's how the card's going to look when it's finished. So I'm going to go away now and glue these in place. A tiny bit of glue underneath them will just keep them in place. And the flowers I'm going to add in with some, with a heat gun, with a hot glue gun. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do with my flowers is just add in some glitter. So again, I'm taking the Cosmic Shimmer Dries Clear, and all I'm doing is just squeezing little drops, little blobs onto the flower's petals. Now the glue will dry clear and it will dry flat. So don't think it's going to look like a blob when it's finished, it won't. And then I'm going to sprinkle on the glitter and tap off the excess. And once that glue is dry, I will brush over the card to get rid of the excess glitter. So there you have some cards. This one was made with the thinner dies, the one that makes the thin strips, and that's that one. This one and that one is made with the die that makes the thicker strips. And I've used two different sizes of sentiments for that. I've used the medium one there and the large one on this. And this one was made with the thinner strips, but with a completely different sentiment. And I don't know that that works quite as well as the larger words.